Hi, this is Imran from decode.com. Today I am going to talk about an important topic in Flutter that is common to implement, and normally people require that one day or the other to implement such a thing. So it is authentication using Firebase. So first we are going to look at what we are going to implement and what it will be when it will be complete after this video. So let's see how it is going to look after completing this lecture. So it is going to be something like this app which you are seeing on the screen. I'm going to type username password to get in. So when we develop this thing, it will look similar to this. As we just logged in, we can just log out, we can go and sign up, and we have basic authentication in there as well. So we are going to see how this all can be implemented in very short amount of time using Flutter and Firebase. I'm going to start with Firebase because first we need to set up Firebase. Then we can implement this interface after installing the components and setting up Flutter project for Firebase. Then we can go and set up this interface, this form, and the authentication setup. So a basic bootstrap application for authentication, which you can use in any other project, or whenever you need such a thing, you can just watch this video and just implement it. So let's start it. Firebase.google.com. Go to console. Now I will add a project. I'm going to name it my test auth app. My test auth app. Continue. I don't need analytics at this moment. Create project. It can take some time, but we can just wait. It's configured. Now we can continue. For now we are using Android emulator, so I will only set it up for Android. The process is same for Android and iOS. When I will get you through the documentation for installation and the steps that we are going to perform for Android, the iOS is also going to be similar. So if it is done for one platform, it will become easy for the second as well, using almost similar steps. So I'm going to implement it for Android to keep the video short. So it is asking for the register app thing, and here it is saying your package name, which is going to be reside inside the Android application. So at this stage we need to create a new application for Flutter. So I'm going to open the terminal and create new application inside my workspace. Flutter apps, and the command to create new application is flutter create and the application name. What was the name of the app? It was my test auth app. So flutter create my test auth app. Okay, all done. This is still busy, so I'm waiting for it to complete. Okay, we are now all done and we should be all set. By the way, I am using a Max terminal. Now we can, it is saying that we can run Flutter Doctor and perform analysis if the Flutter is set up correctly. But we don't need to do that because it is already set up correctly in my machine. Let's open that application with Visual Studio Code. I use Visual Studio Code for development in Flutter. Open and apps, my test app. So I'm going to run it with Control F5, or I can do it from this button. It is saying which project it is. It's a Dart and Flutter project. We can open the project files in here. Here is the main dot. This is the file from where Flutter starts the application. So it's the main file of any Flutter application. Let's see if it is loaded. Not yet. It is loading. Okay, so it is loaded now. So it's a basic but working app. So our Flutter project is set up. Now we need to go back to my test auth app, Android, and we need to look for this build.gradle and look for this application ID. Okay, so build.gradle. I need to go in Android, and there it is, build.gradle, and application ID. So this application ID should be inside the app build.gradle, not the main project build.gradle. So keep that in mind. So here is the application ID. Let's copy it, paste it here. App nickname, my test auth app. I don't need any debug signing certificate as of now. Register app. Now it is giving me a file that I need to put inside the app folder, inside Android's app folder. Let's download it. So it's downloaded now. I'm going to move this file here in the app folder. I'm going to rename it because there were similar files with that name, so it put one after it, but it should be named correctly. Now we should be good to go. Click next. It is telling us some other steps, but we will perform these steps once we are installing the plugin for Firebase authentication inside Flutter, because all of these steps will be mentioned already in there. Next, continue to console, and it is set up for Android and now we can go ahead and install the package as well for authentication. I think it should be good to see now the full screen. I just close the sidebar so we can see it. Now I'm going to look for the plugin for the package that we can use inside Flutter for Firebase authentication. Flutter Firebase Auth. So here is the first package. We need to open that. Here it is telling us how to install it. Open the pubspec.yaml file and create this dependency. If you are a Flutter developer, you should already know what this pubspec file is. So it is a file from which we install the packages. So here are the dependencies. We need to create a new dependency. Keep note of this thing that we need to press one tab or two spaces after it. We should not keep it inside the Flutter because this package is not Flutter SDK, but it's an independent package for Flutter. So it comes under dependencies directly. It should be this way, otherwise it will not work correctly. So let's save it now. It will download the package. Meanwhile, we can go back to the documentation and perform the necessary steps. So it is saying to add class path for Android and build.gradle. So I'm going to open this inside Android, then build.gradle. So this is the Android and this is build.gradle, and here it is saying, let me open browser together so I can perform these steps easily. So it says put this com.android build gradle to dependencies. Let's see if it is already there. So this is already there. We can skip it, but this one is not there. We should copy it and paste it here. Save it now and let's move on. It says add the apply plugin to Android app build.gradle file at the bottom. So let's copy it, go to the app folder, then build.gradle and close the sidebar. I'm using command plus B command for closing it from Mac, and I'm going to go at end and save it as well. I think now all the steps are there. We just need to close the application completely and restart it from scratch to know if the package is installed correctly. If something is wrong, normally the Flutter app throws errors. I'm going to open the main dot so it knows what application it is. If it can easily identify if it's a Dart app or something else. Sorry, if it's a Flutter app or something else. Dart is the language that is used to develop the Flutter apps. I use the control plus backtick command to open this terminal. Because if there is a problem, it normally comes inside debug console or problems, so we know if the application have any issues or not. So it started correctly, so this means that our installation should be correct. So now let's start with the interface. So we have this very basic interface. We don't need this at all. I'm going to remove it completely because we are going to start it from almost from scratch. We don't need this stuff. Just remove the comments. This is about theming the application. For now, we are not that much interested in theming. We will apply a basic theme. So it was calling a widget, which I now removed, and that's why it is showing an error, but we are going to create that widget in a moment. I'm going to create screens folder. Inside that we are going to create auth screen dot. Now I'm going to press the shortcut stateless. So I'm going to create a stateful widget, in fact, because I will be creating a form, and to maintain the state of the form I need a stateful widget. It's a long debate what are the stateful widgets and what are stateless widgets, but normally where we need to perform some other calculations or some other operations, for example showing some data based on some inputs, hiding some data, uh, some interactivity like performing loading kind of stuff, and on the widgets where we need such stuff, then we should use stateful widgets. Otherwise we should use stateless widgets. So it's a auth screen. It is giving me errors because I did not imported the core file for design. So it's a material design, so I need to input this file. I saved it. Now I am going to import it. Child text, no semicolons please. Testing. I'm going to call this on this instead, this auth screen now. Auth screen. No parameters are needed. Save it, and now we can see we are seeing this testing now. It is displaying ugly, but it will be rectified when I will correct it. So instead of this container, I need a scaffold, because scaffold is the widget that will rectify this problem that currently we are facing, because it will elegantly handle the complete screen. Scaffold needs body, and inside body I can just for now create a center widget with text hello world. So now we are going to see this hello world inside center of the screen, the look and feel has improved. So I have addressed this missing widget issue. Now we need to go inside this auth screen, and we can now create the form for logging in and sign up. So let's start without any delays. Here is the scaffold, then center. Same organization looks good to me. I think inside it I can create a card. Card is kind of rounded corner widget with a specific area. In that I can create a child. In fact, single view, single child scroll view. It will make this possible that if there is some smaller device in which these email, password, repeat password fields somehow overlap from the screens, this widget will make it possible so they are scrollable. If we are in smaller device, we will still be able to scroll them and fill them. So that's why it is better to use this thing. After this, we can create a padding, and padding of in fact 20 pixels, or it is not pixels, but you can assume it that way. Create this padding, and inside that padding create a child of form. So now refactor it, in fact format it. I'm using the Control Option F button to format it inside Mac. Now I need to create another widget, column, so I can create the input fields and buttons. Our basic structure is ready, but after card should have a margin from the outside screen so it becomes visible. Edge inserts dot all. From the sides, let's have around 15 pixels of space, and inside, so this is a little code you can see. It will become more visible once we create more fields, but before that I'm going to change this color scheme here so this card becomes more visible. So I'm now again into this main dot dart. Here I'm going to change the background colors dot light blue. I like it. And primary colors dot light blue. I think we can keep it light blue or dark blue, in fact just blue, and this thing to light blue. And let's apply this color on this widget. I'm going to apply this color, theme.off context.background color. I'm going to save it, and now it looks much better, and the card is visible as well. Now we need to create some input fields and buttons for this form, so let's start that. Text form field. The first thing in the form that I'm going to use is key, so this field can be uniquely identified, so it's always better to use such a key. In fact, value key, and this value is going to be, first field is going to be email, so I'm going to name it email field. Then I'm going to decorate it, and decoration means it requires input decoration. Input decoration, and input decoration needs further parameters, in fact named parameters. I'm not discussing Dart here in detail. For that you need to definitely go through some tutorials. The main purpose of this video is implement the authentication in Flutter, and to definitely do it you need to know some knowledge of Flutter. Okay, I'm going to give it a label. So label is going to be text. It is already text, so I can just give this text a name of email. Now, so you see it is already looking much better now. Now I need to create Onsave function. So when this field will be saved, what is going to happen? So a value will be passed, and I need to create some parameters here up at the top. In fact, variable email. Initially it is going to be empty. So when this value will be saved, this is going to be assigned to this variable, and then there is a validator function where we need to write validation rules. For now we will just keep it very simple. We will just check it if it's empty or not. So if val dot trim dot is empty, trim means remove any spaces from before this string and after this string. So if there are empty spaces inside the email, they will be trimmed. Okay, so if it is empty, return an error message. Email cannot be empty. We can add more rules, but for now I will keep it simple. Return null if there is no error. For example, I can add another rule here and say val dot trim dot contains, so email at least should contain @ I can say enter a correct email. So this method is now pretty much in fact this field is now pretty much complete. I can just copy this field and create some other fields as well. So one is email, one is going to be password. In fact, it is going to be another field in here. One is password, one is repeat password. So initially both are going to be empty. So this is assigned to password. Password cannot be empty. We don't need this thing. In fact, we can add another rule that says val.trim.length is less than equal to 4. Password is too short. So we can copy it again and create another field for repeat password. Repeat password. Repeat password. Password cannot be empty. Repeat password is too short. Instead of this, I think it's better to compare it with this value. So on validator, on change, we should also assign it when these both rules are passed. We should assign it to password, so that when validation is happening and this rule will execute before this rule, so on this rule, when it is saved after the validation inside this variable, we can make a comparison here if the repeat password is same as the actual password. So let's see if pass is is not equal to value not equal to this password, passwords should match. Okay, we have already written some basic authentication here, and I think the next step is we can create a button to submit these values and perform the validation. So I am going to create a raised button. On pressed, execute some function. For now I am going to keep it null. I will write it later. First let's give it some label. Login. In fact, sign up. Okay, so you can see this button is kind of disabled as of now due to this null. I will write this function, but before that I need to create some space between input fields and this button. That can be done with size box. It is sized box. 10 pixel not sufficient. Let's make it 15. Looks better to me at least. Okay, now we need to write some function to handle the submit operation. Void submit form. For that I can just copy that name and paste it here without these brackets. If I put these brackets, this will be called in here. I don't want to call it, I just want to pass a reference to it, so when on pressed is actually pressed, it calls it. Okay, so now you can see it is enabled. To handle this submit form, I need to create a global key for form. Final form key equal to global key form state. So I'm going to assign this key to this form, and using this key we can execute the operations like validation on executing the validators on all the fields, executing the save methods on all the fields, and we will just write one line and it will execute them all. And let's see how we can do that. So first of all, we need to find out that if this is a valid form. Final is valid equal to form key dot current state dot validate. So validate this. This validate will will execute all these validator functions in all the fields and return true or false based on our checks. Okay, so if the form is valid, execute the save operation. So form key dot current state dot save. So we are good to go to execute the save functions. So what the save functions are doing, they are just assigning the input field values to appropriate variables. So now we know after this line we have these variables filled with the correct details, but let's find that out. Let's print those values. Email, I'm going to copy it, paste, password, repeat password. So this is the correct field. Let me find out if we use the correct one here. Yes. Okay. Now let's refresh the application fully. I'm opening the console with Control and backtick key on my Mac to see the output inside debug console. Test1 at test.com. Let's type a short password and a long one here. Sign up. Password is too short. Passwords should match. Okay, now make it 4 times A. I think now this password should not occur because they are matching. Let's find out what is going wrong and if the value is being saved in here or not. Let's find that out. There is no output copy. Let's find out what is going wrong. Val.trim.contains @ if it contains @ it's a valid email address, not invalid, so this condition is wrong. And value.trim.length less than equal to 4. If it is less than equal to 4, password is too short, that's correct. And if the password is not equal to value, password should match. It should also be correct. Okay, let's fill these values again. One at test.com, a 5 times. Let's go for success scenario. So in success scenario, the values are coming in, so that means something is wrong with validation rules because they are not working as expected. And I figured out something, that this pass is getting stored after passing these validation rules, which is wrong, because when we are changing it to whatever it is, it should be saved immediately, so that way this comparison will be correct. Now whenever we are making this change, the change was not taking place at this line because the execution was not going to that line. So now it should be corrected. Let's rebuild it and do it once more to find out. Test1 at test.com, a 4 times, so password should match, that's correct. It should now go away. Passwords are matching, that's correct. Now 5 times, sign up, so we are good to go. One thing, that instead of displaying these passwords, it should be either star or something obscure. So let's find out how we can do that. We can just go in and enable the obscure text equal to true and copy it to the repeat password, and now it should be displayed as obscured. Okay, so we are good here. Let's mismatch from here. Mismatch is working, so validation is good. Now we can move forward. Okay, one thing, this keyboard type and this keyboard type are almost same, and while opening the email address, we should open the input keyboard as email address. Keyboard type, so what it takes, input text input type, text input type dot email address. So now we should see keyboard for email address, in fact. So it should be a different keyboard compared to these ones. So this is how we can change the keyboard types as well. Okay, let's move on and implement the dynamic behavior for this form. So we can switch between sign up and login, and then we can submit those values to Firebase, and after that, getting authenticated, we can load a new screen when we are logged in, and then we will implement a logout button, and that will lead us to again to this screen or login screen depending on how we implement it. So let's move ahead. We have already created input fields for sign up. Now I will create another button below here so we can switch between login and sign up. This will be in fact flat button. Flat button just displays the text. Okay, I'm going to write I already have an account. So this button should lead them to login. On pressed, we are going to change the state, set state, and we are going to define a variable. I'm closing it here, closing the sidebar as well. A button var is login equal to true. Let's keep them on login screen by default. So is login, when this button is pressed, make it inverse of is login. In fact, not of is login. Whatever the value will be, if it will be true, it will become false. If it will be false, it will become true. So let's use this state variable everywhere in the application. I saved it and immediately it is coming on the right side. So if we are on is login state, just display this text that create new account, and with that, when we are in login state, we don't need this text repeat password here. So if not is login state, if we are not in login state, then it should come. By default it should not come, and the text here should also change to login when we are in login state and sign up when we are in sign up state. So I rebuild it completely. Let's click here. So we see 3 inputs, and I already have an account. It brings us to login. So here's how we can deal with it. Now it's time for us to actually submit those values to the server. One short thing: when the values are successfully submitted, we should close this if there is no error, because it is looking ugly when we submit the values and it is still there, the keyboard is still there. So for that, what we can do is, when this is valid, just focus scope dot off dot unfocus. So we will this line will close this keyboard when the values are submitted successfully. Close the keyboard. Let's see if it is working. At aaa.com. Yes, it is working. When there is no error, it will close. and if there is an error, let's see, so it is not closed. Okay, let's move on and take these values to the server so we can actually register this user and login. Okay, we now need to create Firebase instance. Firebase Auth instance, make sure it is imported here as well, which is now imported, so we are good to go. Firebase.instance and dot sign up with email and password. So let's create a condition over here. It returns this function returns auth result. So let's create a variable of auth result, in fact instance of auth result. Then we can create a condition. If the state is login, then it should in fact login instead of sign up, and if it is the other state, that means we are signing up. We can copy this line and paste it here, semicolons, auth result, it is saying that so it returns a future. That means we need to implement await on this. So for that we can make this function async function and write await over here. So now, as this function will take some time to sign up and then it will return the result, that's why we are awaiting at this line. After that it will go it will execute the code below this line. So await means this thing. Okay, so now we are passing email and password. Let's do the same thing. Auth result await Firebase auth.instance. Now we need to actually log in. There is no method like that. Sign in with user password, and it should be sign up. In fact, sign there is no sign up. Let's find out the name. Create user with email and password. Okay, nobody knows by heart the names of all the functions, so sorry for that. Email and password. What is going wrong here? We are missing the underscore. Okay, This is it. Whenever we are trying to write such kind of code that is communicating to server, anything can go wrong, so we should keep that in try catch block, so exceptions can be handled. If this exception comes, print something went, just print in the console error. And there is a special exception thrown by this Firebase authentication that we should deal here as well, named as platform exception. So let's implement that on platform exception catch e. So there are two catches now. Okay, here we can display the appropriate messages, what is actually going wrong. We should do it via snack bar. So for implementing snack bar, I'm going to create another variable for just like this keys associated with form and this key associated with text fields. I'm going to create a global key for scaffold so we can manage its state as well. So let's do that. Final scaffold key equal to global key scaffold state, and attach this key with scaffold. Okay, now go back here and on scaffold key dot current state dot show snack bar, and in this we can write snack bar content is text, and we can display e dot message, whatever the message is coming from the Firebase authentication library. Let's display that. So if this thing is not valid, the errors will already be there. We don't need to handle that. If there is no authentication, if there is no common errors on this application side, then we will come here, save the state, and then we will pass these values to the server. So at this stage we should be at least able to submit the values to the server. Okay, what is in the response case? So in here we can also find out auth result dot, if there is some user information in the variable, if user is equal to null, if there is no user, so we can again copy it and display the snack bar with error that something went wrong. Please enter correct email password, and if it is successful, if there is user, then there are two states: either we are signed up or we are logged in. But in that case we can just display it this way, that operation was successful, because when this operation will be successful, we will redirect them to other screen, so this message will not make any sense. But for now, to test it, we need to show it. Let's rebuild it completely, and let's start from signing up. Test1 at test.com, admin123, admin123, sign up. Let's find out the output. Firebase Auth not found. Reducing the number of don't know if the operation was successful or not. Let's again submit. No, something is not correctly done. Local module descriptor clause for com Google Firebase Auth not found. Looks some configuration issue, something maybe I am doing wrong. Let's find that out. Okay, I figured that out. It is the problem that we are not allowing the authentication on this application. We need to enable the authentication over here. Let's do that. Set up sign in method. Email password sign up. For now we are interested only in that. Let's enable both at the moment. Save it. And now let's try our app again. Hopefully this time it should work now. Operation was successful, so it went all right all the way. But a few things that I think you and I both noticed, that when we submit it, there is no interactivity that this app is doing something, it is busy. So let's replace this button with circular loader and make it kind of interactive, so the person knows it is performing some operation, so they don't keep clicking on this button again and again. So let's do it. I'm closing this terminal and creating a new variable. Var is busy equal to false. So when we are under this operation and doing something, we just started something, set state to is busy equal to true. And when we are done with everything, let's do it in exception handling, because there is one clause that will always execute if there is exception or anything wrong. This portion will always execute even if anything goes wrong. So here we are going to set state is busy equal to false. So now we are using this, going to use this state variable below in this widget part, so we can control these buttons. So let's combine these buttons inside column. Remember, the column is a vertical space, so in fact this will come whatever resides in column, the first widget will come first, the second will come second, and so on, so one after another. Okay, so I have combined it into the column because I just want to make it conditional. If it is not busy, then this thing should display, but if it is busy, then some other widget should load, which is circular progress indicator. Okay, this should be now much interactive. Let's try that out. We first tried sign up, now let's try sign in, login. In fact, test1 test.com 1 2 3. Okay, so we have made some progress, operation was successful. So this is it. Now we are good to go, and we can create another screen for dashboard. When we are logged in, we should go to dashboard dot screen dot stateless widget, because we don't want state here, we will keep it very simple. Dashboard screen, we need to remember import this material dot, and we need to replace it with scaffold so our screen looks good. We need to give it a title. App bar is app bar, and title text, and give it dashboard. And now app bar has body as well. In body, we just need to keep some text in center, and a logout button as well, or just keep the logout button. Raised button, first create it child text logout, and then on pressed Firebase Auth dot instance dot log sign out, maybe. Yes, so we need to do it inside a function. Here you go. So this is our arrow function in single line. So if I refresh it, completely rebuild it, it will not load by default. I need to create some logic. So here we are just loading this auth screen. We need to do something else. We need to do stream builder, because stream builder will enable us to listen to some future operations, and based on it, it will refresh the state of whole app. Okay, stream builder. First we need some stream. So what is that stream? Stream should come from Firebase Auth dot instance dot there is nothing like that state. Yes, on auth state changed. Here it is, and now we need a builder function. One thing required is stream and one thing is builder. So builder takes two parameters, context and snapshot. So snapshot is current state of this stream. Okay, so if snapshot has some data, yes, if it has some data, the latest data received by async computation. So if there is some data, that means we have some valid user, and we can go to dashboard screen. Otherwise, just return dashboard screen, and otherwise return auth screen. So by default we will load auth screen, and if the person is signed up we will load dashboard screen. It's saying type Firebase user is not found, type bool. Where is this thing is this means it is looking for some data that is not yet there, or I'm doing something wrong. The following Boolean expression must not be null. I think something is wrong in here. It returns non-null or null. So I think we have to define this way. If it is not null, yes, so that's it. Or it has a better thing to check. Better has data. So it's a better method to use instead of this ugly operation. We can go both ways, whatever you like. Let's refresh it. Now we need to check if we implemented this logout. Yes, it is implemented. And now we can log out. Yes, it is working. Test1 at test.com. Admin 123. Log in. And here you go. This exception is clearly telling us that the set state was called after dispose, means this widget was nowhere in memory, but set state was called after that, which is wrong, which should not happen. So let's see how we can fix it. I'm just going to copy this error and search it on Google to find out what is the easiest fix, because that's how we do the real development. Okay, so there is a simple method this.mounted and set state, so it should fix our problem. We can place it here, then here. That's it. Rebuild it, and now let's log out and log in again. Okay, it is now working correctly. Sign out, create new account, test2 maybe, add test.com, in 123 admin 123, sign up. Okay, after signed up successfully, we are again logged in. We can log out, test2 at test.com, admin 123, log in. Okay, please let me know if you need to also configure this same app for iPhone, maybe using Xcode. I can do that as well, but I think it should be pretty much straightforward because it is already written in the documentation how to do it. We just executed this part, and you can do it for iOS as well following these steps. They are already mentioned in there, or you can always comment on my video and I will create another video for that. Thank you, have a good day, and please give my video a thumbs up if you like it, and please consider subscribing to my channel and clicking on the bell icon so you are aware and you are notified when I upload new content. Thank you. Bye bye.